Ladies and gentlemen, we have all come here to the IoT Business Hub to challenge our industries we're in. So I took a slide here from the website of IoT Business Hub, and you see all the verticals, the infrastructures, the industries we want to challenge. Now after logistics and a bit earlier on the water management, now let's go into smart buildings. Before we do that, of course, always the question before we get a bit more technical, why should buildings be smarter? And I would say hopefully we do this because we believe we will create more comfort, safety, and a better living in buildings. Hopefully. If I'm an investor or a building operator, hopefully I can get higher rents. Hopefully I can get less cost, higher productivity in my building. And most importantly, actually, we should do it because we want to make buildings more sustainable. I'm not sure whether you're aware, but buildings consume roughly 40% of the world's energy. That's still way too much. The problem is that the curve kept rising, it's now flattening, but it has to go dramatically down till 2050 to net zero, basically. So, we talk about smart buildings, we talk about digital. And I've been in the building automation industry for about 25 years, and I would say, hey, come on, we do this all the time. We have been doing this all the time. Buses, computing, in buildings, that's our daily life, What the fuss about this IoT in buildings, why is this, We do this, we integrate the different infrastructures in a smart way. We made smart things with the building automation system. Well, that's our business. And here we can see classical building automation system, as they're used in the markets today. We as Belimo were only actually active here, in the field, so-called field devices area, smart field devices. But still, if we are self-critical and honest, we have to say, well, it is a little bit of a special world in here. We still have kind of proprietary buses, KNX, BACnet, Why is this not Ethernet? Why is this not MQTT? Why is this so special? So it's good that some outsiders now start to challenge our industry. It's actually very healthy. And what I'm going to talk about today, together with Rony, is, how could this happen? What possible scenarios be, how IoT creeps into our building automation industry, and it's actually already happening. So let's start with the basics. Building IoT, very simple. It's about buildings. It's about things in building. Those are the infrastructures down there that you see, and they're connected, hopefully, in a smart way through the internet together and do great things between them. And to go a bit in more detail, these things, they could be sensors, they could be actuators. I'll give a few examples in a minute. That's the field we at Belimo are actually in. We're totally focusing on these elements. It could be complete subsystem. It could be an elevator, doing something smart or providing diagnostics data to the system. And of course, we have on the right-hand side also building automation systems. They are already smart. They're already internet connected. And that all could play together up in the cloud. So basically, we have digital twins of these objects, and we can do between them smarter things than we used to do them today. That's basically very simplified. That's what building IoT is all about. So here are some examples, some sensors and that you all know. They're around, from CCTV cameras being the most well-known, or these very tiny little sensors, that you can stick on the wall or on a chair to see is anyone in there. I'm not going to go into detail here. I show a few actuators, IoT actuators in buildings. We'll talk more about the Belimo devices here, the orange ones, and that's our company color, as you might imagine. Smart pumps, smart lighting. So things that move something, that move air, water, light, etc. in buildings. And just to explain the principle of IoT with a very simple example, let's take the presence sensor. And we have some, actually, I checked in this building up here, that detect our presence in here. There's people in the room. Okay, what can we do with that? I mean, the classic thing with such a presence sensor, it comes from the lighting industry. We can switch on the light on when people are in, nobody's in, let's switch the light off. Very classical, makes sense. Now, you could say, well, we could have an IoT sensor that detects people are in here, this room is occupied, the other one next door is not. someone reserved the room next door, and we could now cancel that. Nobody's actually in there. We could cancel that reservation in Outlook, that because nobody's there. We can see, kind of heat maps, as you can see them up there on the right-hand side, to say how often is a room occupied or one is never occupied. Why is it never occupied? Can do great things there. But the truly fancy things come if you start connecting these things. You say, well, that light sensor can do many things, the ones I described, switching light on and off, but we could also use it early on to boosting the ventilation in this building, that we have early on the so-called VAV boxes opening up, bringing more fresh air into this room. We could use it for example, alarm evacuation. Are people still in this building? It's a fire scenario, or there's still someone moving there, etc. And combine all together in a super smart way, in a much easier way than the classical building automation industry would be able to do that. So just hope that example helps a bit to show you the potential that this has. Don't worry, I'm enthusiastic about IoT, but Rony also will explain a bit about the downsides of all of that and the risks. I'm also critical at the same time. Now, here for us as a field device company in the building automation industry, of course, it's very decisive that we see, well, how is this all going to develop in the future? That's very essential for our business. And so we have drawn here 3 very extreme scenarios. So very extreme, I'm aware of that. First one is, in a way, nothing really happens. It stays more or less the same to the way it was the last 20 years. The building automation companies say, well, we're the kings in the building. We integrate all these infrastructures. And yes, we then offer a trunk into the cloud. And there also I can access all these data points. But we sit on top of it. That's one scenario. Nothing really happens. The other one is say, well, everything's going to be different. All the sensors and actuators get much smarter. I don't need any building automation system on the top in the building. Everything is streamed to the cloud. And basically, I make the integration up there in the cloud. And I have even super clouds that can then do even greater things on top. A completely different technical and business model also, as you can imagine. Now, I believe somehow the reality is going to be in the middle, that we will see still things connected in the building. We have basically edge-controlled building automation that sits in the building and do great things between them. And you still have, however, cloud connections to the respective vendor clouds that can do diagnostics, even greater things, and exchange that on top. So you could argue it's kind of a hybrid model between these other 2 extremes. That's what we believe is the more realistic scenario. And now Rony will actually show you, for us as a company, really focusing on the field device. I mentioned this is very essential. We, of course, have to serve both worlds. We make about 7 million actuators and sensors every year that leave our factories. We have about 2,000 people, 1,000 in Switzerland. I'm actually a bit disappointed this was not shown on the Zurich map. 1,000 employees in Zurich, high-tech, clean-tech company, was not there. Anyway, now we have to serve the old world, but also we serve the new world. And Rony is now going to show you an example of our flagship product, the energy valve, which kind of serves this hybrid path in the new and the old world. Please, Rony.
Thanks, Adrian. Yeah, as Adrian mentioned, it's a pleasure now to show you some examples. What are we doing a little bit more in deep, but also what are the challenges. What you can see here now, it's our Energy Valve 4.0. We introduced the first one, 3.0, in 2017. It was our first IoT device. Now, with this device, there is a lot inside, a lot of function. We can make monitoring, we can make metering, we have hydraulic balancing, we have digitalized workflows, and we can also make IoT billing. So there's a lot inside. And we're also proud we received last year the Swiss Technology Award in the category Innovation Leader. That's quite seldom that a company in the building industry can reach such an award. Now, as Adrian mentioned, many years ago, you maybe remember somebody needs to go into your flat, your apartment, to collect their data from your energy meter or water meter. Then we developed, and 10 years, 20 years ago, it was possible somebody could just drive with the car in your street, and they could activate the meters, and they could collect the data. However, they were just once a year up to date. Now, a customer, Skybill, what they do, they use our Belimo Core Cloud and they build a third cloud application. So they have anytime, anywhere around the world, they have access to the data. They can offer new business models. They can billing all the time. If somebody is changing in the rent, it's no need that somebody goes there to collect data. They could use the data to make also predictive maintenance. So a lot of new opportunities. And for us, it's the way that we want to sell products and we enable our customers that they can make new business models. Last year, maybe some of you know the building Nest in the EMEA Dübendorf. If no, you should go there. It's a great building. And we could also supply a lot of actuators and valves, and they were all connected with Power over Ethernet. The idea behind it's really to have all the data available all the time. As Adrian mentioned before, 40% of our energy is used in buildings. So we need to make sure that we can run our building as efficient as possible. I see this as one of our major goals. The challenges, exactly. So for me, I guess one of the biggest challenges in the construction industry, it's we are really a conservative industry. There are a lot of norms and directives, and if you would like to have something new, it takes quite a long time. Just to introduce a new product, we think it takes up 5 to 10 years. Now we are talking about cloud and IoT, so this will be challenging. But there are also other challenges. As mentioned before, if you have now a connection, traditional, with, for example, BACnet, and we also go to the cloud. So this is more work, this is more for management, so this is quite demanding. At the same time, it's also higher risk for cyber attacks. So a lot of customers, they are quite afraid about this. I guess I need to speed, huh? Then the second one, it's okay. Great, thanks. You know, just yesterday, I made my update of my iPhone. Does somebody have an iPhone version 1 from 2007? I think it would not be possible to make an update. So our customers, they call us, your actuator is out of order. When did you buy it? 1990. Okay, that's good. I can sell you a new one. But when we talk now about cloud connection and IoT, it's a big challenge to make sure that we can run them the next 20 years. And the last one, that's also at the end, if we connect more devices to the cloud, also this needs energy. And there is maybe a challenge. Do we save at the end more energy, or do we spend more energy by collecting the data, analyzing the data that we really use in the building? So also there are done quite a lot of studies, but we know we save energy. Now if you go to the classical building automation, we know it will grow. The reason it's quite easy, the European Building Performance Directive, you need to have a building automation. If your building uses a certain amount of energy, you have to have a building automation. So we know over the next 10, 20 years, building automation will grow constantly. But there will come, as Adrian mentioned before, more and more. We have the traditional way, we have the cloud connection. Then we go more into, if you want to have a label, for example, in Switzerland, Minergie, you need to have a monitoring. So more and more, we are going to have monitoring in the building. But the big step will come, at the end, with IoT devices, as mentioned before. If you have sensors, they are very easily to connect, and we can collect many, many data. And there we are convinced this will give a boost to the whole building. At the end, many, many years ago, Peter Drucker, I hope most of you know him, he already told us, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And I think 90% of the buildings in Switzerland and globally, we do not have the data. So how can you manage a building if you don't have the data? And that's a huge opportunity with building IoT, that we have more data and run the buildings in a better way.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot, and we are open for questions.
Any question?
Thank you. For Belimo, in the context of this example you just shown with sensors or actors from 1990, is retrofit still or at all a topic in context of smart buildings?
When retrofit in general is going to be the big challenge. I mean, we have, let's say, 100 buildings every year worldwide, roughly 2 new ones, and 2 are being renovated. 98 are not renovated and poor in performance, most of them. So they need to be renovated. And that's why this big wave, renovation wave we see in Europe, that's going to be accelerated, you know. Now, with regard to IoT upgrade, of course, you know, I think which you referred to, of course, this would be the vision that you don't have to rip out in the future the complete device, your complete pump, your complete inverter, and dispose it, but you can just take the communication device out, you know, have it a more modular approach, that maybe while your building technology stays in place for 30 years, the communication changes every 10 years. This is kind of an approach that many companies pursue to overcome that dilemma of these fast cycles.
Thank you. So, really thank you for your contribution.
Yeah.